This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
Hi there, I'm Henry Rosoff, and welcome to today's edition of PIX on Politics Daily. And today we are talking about noise regulation, specifically outdoor venues in the city. And to talk about that with us, we're going to bring in City Councilman Robert Holden from Queens. Councilman Holden, thank you so much for spending a minute to chat with us.
Great to be here, Henry.
So you just introduced some legislation around this. Let's just start by having you outline this bill, and if passed, and it's just the beginning of the process, what would it do?
Well, again, it would make it easier to hold these outdoor concerts accountable when they exceed the noise code, especially and mainly in residential districts. So they can't get a variance if they're within 100 feet of a residential district, or, and more importantly, if they violate the noise code, they have to actually pay the fine and rectify the situation. Many times what they do is they get fined and they don't even pay the fine. They wait until all the concerts are over and they pay the whatever, 10,000. It's a very small amount. So let's say you had 12 concerts and you get paid and you get fined $1,000 per. They could absorb that, and that's the problem. So right now, if let's say the previous concert, and let's just take Forest Hills Stadium, which is on the edge of my district.
And I know you've spent a lot of time focusing on this. Yeah, let's talk about it in practical terms, what this means. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would happen is Forest Hills Stadium couldn't have another concert unless they rectified it, paid the fine, gone to court, and explained why they broke the law on the noise. Now, even now, to try to get what you have to do is essentially get either a DEP officer or a police officer into your apartment to have a meter reader on the noise situation. And my bill actually makes it easier. Of course, it has to go through a hearing process. This will take months, but we can do some compromises. So let's say the people at Forest Hills or any other outdoor venue would come and say, you know what, this is too strict. Or give us a break on the decibel level, or we can negotiate all this. But people have to be able to be in their homes and live a normal life without very dangerous decibel levels of noise. And you may call it music, but if something's pounding for hours on end and you can't do work and you can't sleep, or, let's say you have a situation where you have a child who's trying to study or whatever it is, this can make it a little easier to hold those who are breaking the law more accountable, and then we could do it faster.
So instead of having to have a cop or a DEP agent go in there with a decibel reader in an apartment, because as the applicable law is here is what you can hear reasonably inside your home, as I understand it, what would this alternative be that you're proposing? How would we fairly enforce this?
Well, we can actually have installed noise meters around the venue, which I think would be the easiest, rather than having a DEP officer come out. That is more difficult to do. We have a lot of problems in the district of noise coming from homes, coming from clubs, coming from different venues. But this would essentially be for outdoor, but it would address some of the ridiculous decibel levels. So they just couldn't absorb it as a cost of doing business. Some of these outdoor concert venues who are sponsoring these, they'd have to address them individually, each noise complaint and each noise violation.
How would this apply to, say, your neighborhood bar that occasionally in their backyard space had some music to make a little money, bring some customers in the window? Does that fall within this? Does it fall within this if they run afoul of the guidelines? How would that apply?
Yeah, anything outdoor. But again, all this could be spelled out at a hearing. So if we wanted to open it up to indoor, even we could even do that. But what these law it's really made for larger venues who are making millions, I would say, on their concerts. Let's say they have several thousand people in the audience, and they can absorb small $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 fines. So this is really meant for the larger venues. But if we wanted to expand it, we could, because it hasn't had a hearing yet. And the hearings, this is what happens. So you'd have when the bill is introduced, and mine was introduced last week. So at the council, it's brand new. We would go through a legislative process. They would the city council would compare notes with the mayor's office. The mayor's office would say, well, we need this done, or we could support this, or we'd like just a little bit, higher decibel level, whatever it is. We could talk about it, but there's already established decibel levels for health. Like if you have constant uh, decibel level over a certain amount, it can actually affect your health. And if it's constant, or affect your hearing, or affect your outlook, affect your sleep. All of this are really health concerns. It's not just an annoying thing, it's actually a health concern.
What has some of the initial feedback been? Because I know that anytime you talk about any regulation, I mean, I feel like the conversation almost immediately turns to, well, this is going to deter development. I mean, this is a very specific type of venue, so so I get that there's a narrow application here. But has the initial feedback been, negative, positive? What has some of the initial concern or positive feedback been?
Well, like anything, I get negative and positive. So we get both, but it depends on where you live, let's say. So if you live close to a venue, you love this bill. If you live in another area and you're not affected by it, and you want to go to concerts, and see, a group playing in your own backyard, you love it. You hate my bill. So it depends on where you live. I'm representing my constituents who are in Regal Park, and even in Middle Village, who can hear these concerts. And what you normally would hear, Henry, is like this boom, boom, the bass. The bass is rattling your windows. It's rattling the walls. You feel it. You can almost feel it in your chest. You know that when you hear a car, and we all get this in New York City now, when you hear somebody, I don't know how these guys drive around with the decibel levels that are just off the charts, and it's a pounding. And when they pass my house, I don't know if it happens to you living in New York City,
Yeah.
your whole house is shaking.
Yeah, you don't get the music. You get the
Boom, boom, boom.
thumping. Yeah, yeah. You don't. I mean, it'd be one thing if you got the music to go with it, but kidding
And
aside, it's
and a
not
lot
pleasant. Yeah.
and a lot of the noise regulations don't deal with that deep bass. They deal with just the higher noise, the higher music or the sound, and they don't deal with that deep bass. And that's why this bill actually would address that, and hold those. So if your house is and you have a noise meter, and we can get DEP over to your apartment, uh, you would see the decibel levels inside the apartment. But I would like to put these on the poles surrounding the venue where the residents start. So especially around Forest Hills or around any venue, and this would any outdoor concerts. We have a lot of these around the city. But Forest Hills is kind of special because it's right within a neighborhood, a residential district. And when I did attend a concert there. I think it was the Who. Which I did go to a concert there, and but we ended early. We ended, I think, before 10 o'clock, and that was a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, that I attended. It was a great concert, but we had to get out early, which is good.
hmm
So
Well,
this was
I know that a lot of these new developments, for example, the new soccer stadium in Queens, is really kind of being baked into the middle of a neighborhood, which is kind of the future of urban development. So I could certainly see other applications beside Forest Hills. No, I mean, it seems like this is the way things are going. Everything's on top of everything.
Yeah, but there are things that how we could mitigate. So if the venue's making a lot of money, they could invest possibly. I'm not saying it's not part of my bill, but they can invest in, let's say, we'll put meters around, and then if we found that it's too high, we can do how. Let's try to mitigate this. And there's various things you can do to mitigate the noise. You could put up barriers, sound barriers, to try to help that with that. You could put up I mean, there's one idea that somebody had that said, like what they did around LaGuardia Airport, they invested in triple pane windows for some of the residents or schools that
Mm.
are close to the airport. So that seemed to be one solution. So there's a lot of different solutions I'm hearing. We don't know what to expect yet because we haven't had the hearing, but I suspect it will be the people that come out to hearing will be the people that live close to a venue And then also you'll get on the other side people that are concert goers and they just want to hear the concert and they don't care about the noise.
Councilman Robert Holden, a Who fan. We find out something new every day here on Picks on Politics. But we thank you for joining us, and you have a great day, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. That's my generation, by the way.
I like the Who too. I think I'm one generation below, but I like it too.
Talking about my generation, that's a Who song.
Well, there you go. And that just showed my lack of knowledge. I said I like them. I don't love them, but I've embarrassed myself enough. You have a great day, sir.
Love the Who. Come on.
And that'll do it for this episode of Picks on Politics. I'm Henry Rosoff. Not as big a Who fan as Councilman Holden, as we just all found out. But you have a great day. We'll have the very latest from the New York's political scene, including various corruption scandals swirling once again in the orbit of Mayor Eric Adams. That's what I'm working on today. My colleague Dan Mannarino is also covering that. But for now, thanks for joining us, and you have a great day.